Reza, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
I was exciting times. I was doing some research on you and everything. I love how your career, man. You've been going like going up slowly, but you're moving up there.
Still so, yeah.
What latest project, The Chosen, as Apostle Philip. We'll talk a little bit about that. But the more research I was doing on you, man, I was impressed with your career. But one of the first things I want to know is what made you get into the acting world? What pushed you into this?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think for me, I was originally not planning that, not because I didn't want to, but I had this dream of setting up a psychotherapy center for young people, and because of that, I was doing a lot of psychology training. So I studied a lot of psychology in London. I did a master's in psychology. Went to med school to go and become a psychiatrist. I did a second master's in like child developmental psychology.
Wow.
I was on a different route, and then it almost happened miraculously because I think I was always sort of very driven by art because my mom was a painter, and there was I'd played piano since I was 9. I would like draw and write poetry. I'd done acting in the schools I went to, and I think when I was studying psychology, I was doing regular acting classes more as a sort of what do you say, like a human apprenticeship, I would say, as a chance to individually explore the dark
Yeah.
corner of humanity. Um, so I guess that's how it started, is like that. And then when I was in med school, I took a pause, and it sort of happened like a path from God in the universe, because
Mm.
as I took a pause, there were some films happening, and then they wanted me to train, so I trained in drama school. I came out of drama school, and sort of serendipitously, exactly as I exit, they're making Tehran series, which is now on Apple TV, and it went on to do really well. And off the back of that, like you were saying, steadily, I sort of never stopped working, which is a true blessing, and I know how lucky I am. So, and I don't think it was just me. I think it was a very amazing team I had behind my back too. So I'm totally grateful to them
Wow.
too.
So like going through like med school and everything, and then you take that turn into the acting world. As an actor now, like what do you think has been like your biggest challenge or like obstacle in your acting career so far? And like how do you overcome it?
The challenge as an actor. Well, when it comes to the actual work, I think the main thing is every job is, I guess, I mean, first of all, you don't really have a lot of control, I suppose. So there's a lot of surrendering that you sort of, the more you get into it, both artistically, I think, as a means of preparing for a character. I think the more some of the favorite actors I have, like Joaquin Phoenix talks about this, that you don't really, there's a lot of unknowns, and you never know a character. And so that's something that as you do more work, you start realizing that the more you let go of the wheel and surrender artistically, it allows you to have more interesting discoveries and surprises, which makes it interesting and creative and artistic. In terms of the actual journey as an actor is quite hard because it's obviously very unstable when it comes to like traveling and having to be like in the last 2 years, I've maybe seen my family in like bouts of a couple of weeks twice, and the rest of the time, you're across, Egypt, Spain, Romania, US, shifting back and forth sometimes. I've been all over the place.
Yeah.
So, which is a blessing, but also, when I go, I take the work seriously. So it's not there for like, I'm here to have a holiday. It's like you're there to give service to the character and the team that have put faith in you. So, yeah.
I was last night I was studying your media kit and everything. And one of the things I wrote down here is like as a challenge as an actor, like with diverse backgrounds like yourself, how do you challenge that? Like how do you try to go above that and get that certain role?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. And that's also another big, I would say, goal or aim I have is to be seen as an everyman because I spoke English since I was born. And like, I'm quite a obsessive weirdo when it comes to like accents. And I go quite thorough when it comes to my research for cultures and backgrounds that are different. And I think my personal approach is to take as much of it on myself to be able to let the work do the talking. So like recently I got a chance to work as the head of NASA, Ethan Marshall, on a show called Astronaut. And there I'm an everyman. I'm not the sort of classic Middle Eastern. and you just make sure the job is done well. Make sure you're, you know, people see that you're dedicated to the work for the job. For that job, for example, I studied a whole lot of physics when physics was my least favorite topic. I studied the whole of NASA, so I had something to contribute that, as an artist is worthwhile and can be a good collaborator. I guess that's the best thing I can do is uh, work at it from the level that's within my circle. So.
You mentioned accents. I gotta ask, like, what's your favorite like accent that you enjoy doing? I gotta
Oh,
put you on this. I gotta put you on the spot.
you would be sort of surprised because this was something I did as a kid that I would read page by page and I would like challenge people to like throw different accents at me, but not just accents, but like voices. So the voice suddenly
Yeah.
changes to something as weird as like, oh, or like the Kermit the Frog suddenly, or like, or like, a Stitch voice. And it's like, oh, that means family, this kind of weird stuff. But then there's also like accents that there's all sorts, I do all sorts of European accents that would be very offensive if I tried right now. Uh, I play with it and then I land it where it needs to go. Um, so yeah, what would I say? I mean, there's just plenty. I mean, Iranian accents are always interesting because it's kind of like I can play with it without seeming like I'm being offensive, so I can really, mess with that one.
Yeah.
So.
As an actor now, like, what's your goal? Do you have like an ultimate goal role that you want to hit in your career?
I mean, I mean, sure. I mean, I love working on complex, broken, traumatized characters. I don't really see it as a sort of antagonist, protagonist thing. I like being seen as an everyman and getting challenges where you have to work on something like, because for The Chosen, I read the whole of the Bible. For Lolita, I read the whole of the Quran, plus like cultural, plus so on. So I like getting chances where there's complexity to deal with, whether that's learning a new skill, whether that's learning a new accent, uh, working on a cultural background that I'm not familiar with or a historical time, and then a chance to work with amazing directors. That's really the main thing, and amazing actors. It's sort of in my goal, the it's yeah, and I like jobs about people and like
Hmm.
complexity. I like the sort of Thomas Winterbrooks and the Paul Thomas Andersons and the Yorgos Lanthimoses
Yeah,
of
yeah. Fellow Greek, yeah. um, so yeah, let's step into The Chosen. First of all, it's like this thing's got a massive following. How does it feel being part of a series like this?
Um, insanely amazing. The main thing about it is exactly what you said. It's not just the following; it's the type of people that follow it. Because they call it the chosen family, and they've taken me with open arms as a recast sort of character who's replacing Philip. I mean, I received so much love from the whole of the fandom in a way that you don't experience anywhere else. They literally like look after you um, at every step, and there could have been much more of a complex reaction to this, but I've had support from the time we were shooting up until now. So that was amazing. Working with Dallas is a true honor because he's a lovely man who sets as a leader a system of equality and love-based work. It's not about ego and power. Um, so that's part of the reason I think it has been so successful and received well. And then the great group of artists and the insanely dedicated team of crew. It's kind of extraordinary. People, even the crew, some of them have driven from the other side of the states just to work on The Chosen because it feels meaningful to them. And so, the person at the craft shop who's serving food is doing it with the sense that this is such a meaningful experience. So there's a level of love there that's quite, unmatched.
For Apostle Philip now, like what kind of description are you given for a role like this, and how did you approach to play this?
Well, the description is quite like simple, I guess. I mean, it's usually something like a couple of lines, and in this case, it was something around like he's a house president, or like what, like the not house president, like the school president, body member,
Okay.
and like something like he's like very what was it, like esoteric, a little bit about his history of being with John the Baptist in the wilderness. If I remember, that was so, and an old soul, which I think was, yeah, that was it. And then in terms of how you approach it, I think I've been, through lots of training and the people I aspire and study, you sort of just try and find a hook usually. So like for me, I trust intuition a lot more as I've gone along. I think I explained that unknowns are the best thing to become comfortable with. So I think you sort of go with whether it's a core value or a core feeling, or for me it's almost like when the sperm met the egg, what happened, or like
Mm,
you never stop asking questions. Why did Philip go to the wilderness? What was up with his own home? What did he say no to go to the wilderness, and what does that mean in terms of what is he running from, and
mm.
he going? And so the exploration never stops, and I think curiosity and play is the sort of best approach to this type of work.
So as like one of the disciples of Jesus, Apostle Philip's character, is there like a challenge with this character a little bit, or how did you overcome if you had a challenge?
Challenge in terms of what, like his
Yeah,
character, or
yeah,
his journey, you mean?
right.
Well, he was basically, I think going back to what I said about the whole home thing, I think he escaped home to pursue staying with John the Baptist, and then he found a father figure in him, and he's
Mm,
described it in the previous seasons, and now in this season, John the Baptist is being executed, beheaded in the first episode, so no spoilers, thank God. But that's happening, and so Philip is confronted with the situation where I'm with Jesus, which I've been waiting to get to, because he was quite easily convinced that he's the guy, because John's been encouraging him to go to him, but at the same time, his father figure in the material world is now decapitated. So there's a very strong oscillance slash paradox that's going on, where for the way I understand it, it's like Jesus and the sort of divine father is there, but then the um, materialistic father or figure slash John the Baptist is dead. So you're in pain, you're mourning.
mm,
He can't be as available this year a little bit as he used to be, as the kind of funny, loving, everyone together vibe. And he's going more internal, because he's almost like deeply questioning, where are we going in this path towards the divine? And I think it's a transformational season for him.
mm. You mentioned you read the Bible. Did anything stick out after reading that before you jumped into this role?
Did anything I think reading about John was a big part of it, John the Baptist, and it wasn't even just the Bible, but like the teachings of John the Baptist was a big part of it. I was replacing Philip, so I know that the previous Philip had also done a lot of exploration into the Essenes, and the sort of, which is a group of Jewish, people of the time that were kind of like monks that would be very much about like meditation and surrender, and so a lot of it was just interesting lessons that you see variations of that in the modern day that are recycled in various formats, as meditation practices and apps and so on. And it was interesting to find almost like the root and source of that material, that it's been there generation after generation, historically. Not even thinking about it from a faith-based matter, but simply just that there are wonderful teachings out there that's so wise and so almost like calming and meditative. So that was an interesting thing. And yeah, just reading the story and learning that however you look at it, even when it is, be it metaphorical or as truth, it has something to offer, which is, as one of the oldest texts out there. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
What I mentioned earlier about joining a series like this too, like as an actor for you, like this seems like it's a lot of work for a series like this. Does it take a toll on you? Does it make you tired after so many months being out there trying to film something like this?
I suppose so. And physically it is. It's very demanding. And like you walk around and in the sun, and you're doing, you get a 2-minute scene, but that's happened like probably at least 30 times, because especially with the number of disciples on your poster, you
Right.
have to get so many shots. So it takes a lot of time, and there's sun, and there's, as someone who doesn't like snakes and scorpions and critters, there's all of that. So uh there's challenges, but I think like I said, the level of like love that goes on, and the sense of like deeper contribution, and the fandom, which really have made this a transformational experience. It doesn't, for me at least, I've been very energized, and maybe I'm still new as it's my first season, but I feel very uh, like fueled in a way that I've never been fueled on a project. So, um,
Amazing. Last question on the Chosen. Family and friends that have watched you on this, what's been their reaction?
um, I think what I find interesting is the same thing I was saying before, because I was a fan of the show from season one, and now we're on season
Okay.
four. But like, and so some of the closer friends, they'd already known about it because I was a fan and I couldn't stop talking about it.
Mm,
But like, generally speaking, people who do watch now, I think one of the things that is happening is people watch it from all sorts of faiths and all sorts of backgrounds.
yeah.
I find that quite a prideful thing. It's one of the things I value about The Chosen, that it's very inclusive, and it's about, the message isn't about trying necessarily, at least to me, it's not necessarily about a faith debate. It's more like, how can you find valuable lessons from the story of Jesus and the disciples that you can apply to the modern day. That's what really, first of all, connected with me, but also to the people I hear, is they watch a scene between Mary and Matthew, or you know, the two of the disciples struggling over something to do with ego, and it's highly relatable and transferable to the stuff that we go through today. And for me, that's quite an interesting thing, because again, because I'm psychology oriented, I always say the underbelly is far more interesting than the backdrop. You know, we're all human at the end of it, and whatever angle you come at it, there's always something to offer. So.
Yeah, you're right about that. So now what's next for you now? You mentioned the Astronaut, you got that coming out soon. And you mentioned about Lolita too, also, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, reading Lolita is, and yeah, I'm very excited about that. It was a big honor to work with Aaron Rickless. He's like genuinely been a hero of mine, and then to be able to work with him, he's super humble. Like with the level of gravitas of work he has behind his back, he was so generous, loving, um, patient, and artistic with his approach. And I've never seen a man like that. And I learned more than just directing and acting from him. And I think working with Golshifteh Farahani and the Iranian young team there, and also Zar Mira Brahimi, but specifically with Golshifteh, because I got to work with her quite directly. She was like my dream as a kid to ever get to work with her. I thought if I get to work with her when I'm 50, I would be lucky. And there I was, learning from my guru and my, uh, you know, biggest dream actor to work with. So that was quite a special adventure, as was the fact that you're honoring a historical time of, where my parents were when the universities were closing down in early times of the Islamic Republic. And it felt quite surreal on all fronts, representing that, trying to channel something also about, I played a Islamic Republic representative, but it was very interesting because he wasn't there necessarily for the same. I mean, I wouldn't want to like leave it to people to decide, but it was quite oscillating between that and trying to relate to this freedom fighting professor Golshifteh Farahani, uh, Azar Nafisi, who is trying to teach love through the lens of literature like Gatsby or Pride and Prejudice. And it was very interesting to see that oscillation, because I think he almost stood for a lot that we see in the modern day, where, do you go for your allegiance or do you go for love and freedom? So, yeah.
Awesome. Are these planning to be on streaming, these
Uh,
projects coming out?
I believe so. I mean, I think Lolita is going to come out eventually, um,
Yeah,
as will the Astronaut. And then once they're out, I think they'll probably make it to streams.
amazing. Out of all these projects you've done, what's been like, is there one that sticks out the most, like it's your favorite, or would you say it's all of them?
It's very hard to say because all of them are very different, and I'm very
Yeah,
proud and grateful for all of them. I do say sometimes, yeah, every one of them is different, really. I mean, maybe Tehran was a bit of a special one, as it was my first. And again, like being exposed to like, there was something about that. It had something very special because it has a very interesting message, and also there was so many Iranians in one place, including the extras. There were actual like refugees in Greece that were like struggling, and you're
yeah.
there with them, and you can actually relate. It felt very sort of grounded, and an opportunity to sort of collaborate on something quite special. So
Mm.
maybe that.
Yeah, there you go. Reza, lastly, now, how can the listeners and the viewers that tune in follow you on social media, keep up with you for future projects, The Chosen?
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram is usually where I'm mostly active. So that's like Reza Diako 93 at whatever. Um, I'm out there, wherever you find me. I like to have interaction. So if you say something, I will speak back because I care. And you make this job what it is for me. So thank you.
That's
Um,
great. Reza, I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes today. Let's next project, let's get you back on. We'll keep talking.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.